Hi everyone, it's Liam here from RatingTheRaces. Well, that's gutting. I just recorded a video for this analysis and went to save it and realised I had my microphone on mute, so you would have heard nothing. So, let's do it again. Starting off, we've got a few here that we don't have prices with. We've got a few that I've taken out because I just don't like the price. I wanted a little bit bigger. But we'll start off with those that we do have prices for. And the first one is Norn Iron in the 205 at Newbury. Now, I feel that this horse hasn't done his winning, which he hasn't. He's only had the 5 runs, yet to win a race. But I think some of his efforts have been pretty good, including when second 2 runs ago to Bucephalus. Now, Bucephalus has come out and won again since, off a £7 higher mark, and won really comfortably. That was probably a very good effort, therefore, at Newbury for Norn Iron when chasing home Bucephalus. Now, the step up in trip, I think, will really suit this horse as well. He's always looked like he needed a bit further. He can, close up towards the finish in his races. Back at Newbury, that should really suit. And even if we look at his last amount effort when he was 4th behind Cavern Club, Bluegrass and My Noble Lord. Now, Bluegrass has come out and won since. My Noble Lord had previously gone off 6s in a juvenile hurdle. They thought that could have been a Triumph Hurdle horse. He went off 6-1. Yes, he was well beaten that day by the likes of East India Dock and Static and Torrent, etc. But the fact that they thought he was that good, it was probably a good effort from him when he was 3rd behind Cavern Club, which again just suggests that Norn Iron did well to finish 4th, particularly as he didn't get a clear run on multiple occasions. If he'd got a clear run, I think he would have gone really, really close to winning it. If he had, he would be off a much higher mark than 114 that he gets to run off here. The step up in trip should really suit. It should mean that even if he does get into that little bit of trouble, he should be able to pick up later on. Harry Derham, Paul O'Brien, they do like to win these types of handicap hurdles. I can't see past Norn Iron, to be honest, here. Currently available at 7-2. You can get 4s in a couple of places. I don't think that 7-2 is going to last much longer either, though. I think he's the most progressive in the race. The step up in triple suit. And as I said, he's not done his winning, so the handicapper doesn't really know what to give him. Whereas I think some of the other horses that have won races, the handicapper has a better idea of their potential and their official ratings. Moving on to the 240 at Newbury. If you listen to my videos, you'll know who I'm going to go for here, because we backed him at Cheltenham in 2 races, I think it was. He didn't run in either. Theatre Man available at 6s. Just 4 runs ago, he was going off 100-30 favourite for a plate at the Cheltenham Festival. Since then, he went to a 3-mile hurdle. No, he didn't. He went to a 2.5-mile hurdle. 2.5-mile hurdle. He went for a 3-mile novice chase behind the likes of Highland, Transmission and Moon d'Orange. Probably too far. Then he did drop back in trip to the 2.5-mile trip at Uttoxeter in a handicap where he was beaten by Ginkgo Blue, Hashtag Boom and Jaguar. Now Ginkgo Blue was then sent off 8-13 for a grade 2. The 3rd horse, Jaguar, has since won the plate. It was probably a decent effort from Theatre Man, to be fair. And maybe he wasn't quite finishing his races. Considering he went off 100-30 favourite off 137, he's now running off 132 in a similar-ish race, probably not as competitive as the plate would have been. 6s looks quite big. Plus he's had wind surgery. If they've realised that he's not quite finishing his races because of his wind, and that works a treat, 6s looks very big, to be honest. I'm quite happy with that, and I'm happy to have a bet on Theatre Man. This is the race that Cheltenham should have been running in. I would have been confident of him taking all the beating here, but for some reason they've decided not to run him. They've got 1 entry in the race, the Skeltons, and he's right down the bottom. He's the outsider of the field. Don't get that. Anyway, Theatre Man, I do like him at 6s. I think he will run a really nice race here. Moving on to the 315, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this horse, unfortunately. I'm going to call it Siog Gyal. It's Irish, isn't it, I think? I don't totally know how to say it though. I think she's going to take all of the beating in this, to be fair. Some of her form earlier on in the season was very good. Even the likes 2 runs ago when behind Jubilee Alpha, Bluey and Charisma. Bluey then went and won at Market Raisin, beating Xiao. Charisma looks like one of these very well unexposed Nicky Henderson, JP McManus mares that he's going to drop into a handicap somewhere. Jubilee Alpha was a good winner and then ended up running at the Cheltenham Festival. Went off 15-2 for a Grade 2. Finished 8th, ran well for a long way for Paul Nicholls. That was probably a very good novice hurdle at Windsor. It probably was. I mean, it was 20 grand to win it. They then went to Market Raisin and Xiao went off the joint favourite but couldn't keep up with Bluey. But I don't mind Bluey. I think Bluey is a good horse herself. She only went off 14s next time out in that Grade 2. This isn't a Grade 2. This is it is a Grade 2. It's a Grade 2 handicap. I don't think that 116 is anywhere near right for Xiao, and I think she's going to take all of the beating here at 7-2. The step up slightly in trip to 2.5 mile should also really suit her. She does have point-to-point form in her background, so the 3 mile trip wouldn't be beyond her. So this 2.5 miles should bring out a little bit more improvement for the Fergal O'Brien team. Moving on to the 225 at Kelso. Now I've got one here that I'm very interested in. And it's right down here. This is obviously alphabetical order. It's Starlight for Lucinda Russell and Patrick Wadge. Now, she's a bigger price than I thought she'd be. You can get 16s, you can get 18s and 20s in places. But 16s is what we're going to say. I quite like her, to be fair. I think she has a real chance down at the bottom. She's got some good form here. She won here 3 runs ago, beating Santa Clarita off a mark of 93. Yes, she's up to 102. And Patrick was actually able to claim 3 that day. But she was very, very comfortable winning that day. Her recent defeat, when 5th at Musselburgh, it wasn't a bad effort. She was probably given too much to do by Conor McCann, who he was claiming 7. And although that looked a good idea initially, because he was able to claim 7, I thought he's given it a really poor ride. He's given her far too much to do. She only went off 6s that day, given far too much to do, off a mark of 102. She gets to run in this handicap, which doesn't look that much better in my opinion. Off that same mark, Patrick back on board, we're getting a much better price about her, 16s, maybe 18s, maybe 20s. She's won over course and distance. The form does look quite strong. And yeah, it just didn't work out last time because of how she was ridden. If she's given a better ride, which I think she will be under Patrick Wadge, I think they could be onto something here. And the connections who won with, or Patrick Wadge and Lucinda Russell won with, what was it? Town at the Cheltenham Festival off bottom weight. I think they could have another one here with Starlight right at the bottom. Very interesting, I feel. On to Bangor, the 135, the 2 mile 3 handicap hurdle. This was the race I didn't want to see Williston in. He is, I think this is the wrong trip, but we do have a selection. We're going to take Williston and the others on with West of the Bridge, the 12-year-old. Yes, he's old, but at least he won last time out, so it's not like he's completely lost his form. Although he's had 5 runs this season, including a win last time out at Wetherby, I feel his best run of the season actually came at the beginning of the season when he was 3rd behind Might Eye and Aston Martini. Now, Might Eye at the time was really well handicapped off a mark of 135. That horse is actually back down to 135, and I still like that for future handicaps. Aston Martini was running off 120. She's now rated 132. West of the Bridge was running off 129. He's now rated just £2 higher, 131. There was not a lot between them that day. I feel that West of the Bridge over this trip can really can run a really nice race as long as he's ridden positively. He was ridden positively in November at Bangor under Harry Skelton. He was ridden positively at Wetherby under Harry Skelton. The time he disappointed over this trip in his last 6 runs was actually in this race last year. But he was ridden from out the back. That didn't suit. He doesn't want to be ridden from the back. He needs to be ridden forward and be really positive on him. And almost the fact that they think he might stay a little bit further, having run him over 3 mile twice, they bring that little bit of stamina in just towards the end, when all of the others maybe start fading late on. Harry Atkins takes a very useful 7 off, and I actually quite like Harry Atkins. I think he's a decent jockey. He's going to do well in his career. Just needs to be positive, make use of that £7 claim, and yeah, I think he's going to run a really nice race here. And he's definitely a bigger price than I thought he was going to be. You can currently get 8s about west of the bridge. Considering he won last time out, he's got good Bangor form. It doesn't look the strongest of races in terms of a lot of these look bang out of form and all over the place with their runs. I think west of the bridge is too big here at 8s. We then move on to the races that we don't currently have prices for. Starting off at the 5 o'clock at Newbury. I'm looking for about 4 to 1 about Beau Balco. Based on that, I think Javert Alain and Teddy Bleu are going to be favourite and second favourite. I think Teddy Bleu is going to be favourite and Javert Alain is going to be second favourite. Hopefully we can get about 4s for Beau Balco. Now, Teddy Bleu looked like he wasn't going to consent to run last time out at Kempton. He might do that again, and this time he might throw in the towel. Javert Alain looks quite progressive. Did find 1 too good last time out in a race that I kind of felt he should have been winning. Beau Balco could be very nicely handicapped over this trip. He's been running some good races. Second to Saint Segal at Newbury when sent off favourite. Second to Boomslang at Musselburgh when sent off favourite. Fourth in the Greatwood Gold Cup, sent off 10 to 1 off 129. This is not a Greatwood Gold Cup. This is significantly easier. Plus it's the drop in trip, and that drop in trip is what I think could be key here. I thought his effort behind General Medrano back in November was a very good effort. Petit Tonnerre was behind, Imperial Saint was behind, Issa Dairy was behind. I think that's strong form. Even the winner, General Medrano, who was winning off a mark of 131, that horse is now rated 143. So he's up £12. So Beau Balco probably had no chance against him that day in terms of if the fact that General Medrano is just significantly higher in the ratings now. He's £12 higher. Beau Balco is actually £1 lower. So if they reopposed, you'd be £13 better off, and I think that would give Beau Balco a massive chance. And that was over this trip. That's the key thing here. That was over this 2 mile trip. Beau Balco, if he can keep up and actually be, if Ben Bromley can go forward, I'd be absolutely delighted with that. I think he will take all of the beating in this race if he's able to get into a good rhythm, jump nicely, and get close enough. It's all about if they don't go too fast for him. I think he'll run a really nice race here. And if we can get about 4s about Beau Balco, then I'll be quite happy with that. Moving on to the 245 at Navan. This one I'm looking for only about 3 to 1 to be fair in this handicap hurdle. Why do I like Kualamita? Well, first of all, she's yet to break her maiden tag. The only time she's actually won a race was a mare's maiden point to point over 3 mile. She ran off 2 to 1 favourite that day. Since then, she's been running in good races without able to get her head in front. Third in her mare's listed bumper behind Only the Night. Second in her mare's maiden hurdle. Fourth in her mare's maiden hurdle behind Baby Kate, Caroline Bombu, Belle the Tigress. Good form. Second again over 2 mile 2 behind 6.5, who just got run down at Cheltenham, didn't she? She was then third in a very good handicap behind Vicio and Kimmy. Now, I think Kimmy overachieved that day, and Vicio was one of those very well supported horses. Yes, Vicio hasn't quite got on Frank that form since, but I think this was a much better race than what Kualamita gets to run in here. Okay, she was a bit disappointing last time out over 2.5 mile at Leopardstown, maybe that isn't the right trip for her. Maybe this drop backing trip, it's definitely a drop in class from that handicap 2 runs ago. I think she should take all the beating here for the very informed Gordon Elliott. He's had a good few winners in the last few days. Ever since he won that race at Cheltenham, the final race of the Cheltenham Festival, he's had quite a few winners and his horses are banging form. Maybe they weren't targeting Cheltenham this year. Maybe they've been targeting the next few weeks, including at Aintree and at Punchestown. On to the 4:30, which is the Novice Handicap Chase final at Navan. And the horse I like here, I think Mark Walsh has probably been given the option of a few of these, and I think he's picked the right one in Canal End. Now, Canal End has slowly been getting better with his performances. 2 runs ago, ran a nice race when sent off 6-1 in a handicap chase over 2 mile 1. Didn't have the pace that day. Never able to keep up. Ran on strongly from what we could see in the fog. Last time out, much better performance, up in trip, 2.5 mile, finishing second behind Answer to Cave, who was winning that day off a mark of 130. That horse is now rated 142 in Ireland and 145 he ran off at Cheltenham. Didn't run bad, finished 11th, went off 14-1. Answer to Cave's previous bits of form, 4th behind Imperial Pass and 5th behind Lecky Watson. He'd been running in top quality beginner chases. Answer to Cave was never going to get beat by our Canal End that day. So for the Canal End to finish second, off 119, and get to run off just one pound higher mark, I'd probably be suggesting now is the time to catch him over this 3 mile trip. In actual fact, his last 2 runs over 3, he's got off the 5-2 favourite in a handicap hurdle at Navan, and he went off 11-2 for a handicap hurdle at Leopardstown. I think this trip is key for his chance. And this looks like he's been laid out for this, personally. I would like to hope we can get about 4s, just on the basis that the likes of Verdant Place, at least one last time out, Banjaxed has a bit of form, Prince Palace has a bit of recent form, Cheerful Chap right at the bottom could be interesting. If we can get around 4s for Canal End, I will be having a bet on Canal End. I think this 3 mile trip is really key to his chance. Actual fact, let's just have one more look at something. He's get to run here off 120. What was he doing when he was running over hurdles? He ran off 124 and 125 when he went off favourite for those 3 mile handicaps. And finally, the last one I want to talk about, I think we're going to get a price about this one. I think we're going to get 8s, 10s, maybe even bigger, for the ridiculously well handicapped on his best form, A Wave of the Sea. This horse has turned up at Cheltenham off marks of, just scrolling down on my other screen, he went to a Triumph hurdle rated 142, he finished 7th, beaten 6 lengths. He went back to Cheltenham the following year for the Paddy Power Plate off 142. He went back again for a Grand Annual of 150, back again for a Grand Annual of 148, back again for a Kim Muir of 137. Tomorrow, he gets to run off a mark of 116, and Charlie takes 5 off. And he's dropping to what I feel is actually his optimum trip. I just feel this horse is a 2 miler. I don't think this horse wants 2 mile for 3 mile. He wants 2 mile and he wants to be given a relatively positive ride. As in, actually get him involved. He's very inconsistent, and I think that's why they keep messing about with his trip and going up and down, because sometimes he runs well, sometimes he doesn't. This for me doesn't look the greatest of races at all. It looks a very moderate race, and on the basis that he's at least coming into it in a reasonable bit of form. Second 2 runs ago, third last time out, second at Navan over 2.5 when Charlie rode. Charlie might have come in and gone, I think we wanted 2 mile, didn't we? And they might have instantly found this race and gone, okay, we'll come back for this race back in March. We'll try somewhere first. That didn't work over that 2.5 mile trip, and now they're giving that 2 mile trip a go. If that suits, which I think it will, and he's given a ride where Charlie just needs to be relatively positive, as in keep the horse involved, keep him going, don't let him drop right out the back. And if he doesn't, and he's there with half a mile to go, I think he'll be finishing and he'll be the strongest in the final half mile out of all of these. And yeah, if we can get anything around 8, 10 to 1 sort of thing about him, he will be a bet for me. So there are my selections for tomorrow. A quick go through just to have a look. Okay, we are going to go. Norn Iron is going to be my next best. Shiog Gyao is going to be my nap. And Deerterman is going to be my... Oh, did I just do... I did that wrong, didn't I? Shiog Gyao is going to be my next best. You're going to be my third best. Deerterman, and Shiog Gyao is going to be my nap. Fingers crossed we can have a good few winners, and hopefully this time it has recorded with sound.